lanes in a jungler that can have pressure is the formula to success in this series.
As simple as that. So maybe you want to see something like a Volibear banned away, or, you know, Lee Sin probably going to be the first pick again, as it has been.
The Lee Sin, I mean, the LeBlanc hysterics already gone.
Right, so that's one taken away for WE. What's the choice? Rumble instead, so they've stuck with the almost 100%ers. And again, you talked about it, there's the adaptation, the Volibear first pick, even though Lee Sin's available.
I'm just surprised that was their takeaway, that, you know, like, Volibear is the problem. And, you know, the thing that BLG changed coming into this game is that they left open the Xin Zhao. So
yep,
that is always a potential coming out for the side of WE. I think the Lee Sin is the expected, right? Lee Sin is such a powerful pick. I feel like not going towards it would be a bit strange for WE. Now I want to see where they go with second pick, because when you see the Lee Sin come out, you would expect maybe something like a Diana in game one, but definitely can try and keep the theme of early jungle and just going for the fact that Xin Zhao's open, and then just try and guarantee some kind of AP mid laner that Shanks can get on top of, and then you try to go for that mid jungle 2v2 combo. And for WE, I also wouldn't be surprised if just overall, right, saving that last pick, counter pick for mid lane, and just trying to guarantee enabling your jungle and enabling these roams towards side lanes that we've seen be such a pivotal part of this series.
As you've seen, Shanks with a good starting series back in the LPL for 2021 summer. If you're wondering where Mole went, this is the first series where we haven't seen Mole part of this team. But Shanks doing a good job of filling in. For BLG, they go for the Diana. You mentioned the Xin Zhao, but they didn't want to touch it. They put a lot of AoE back into the composition. A lot of all-in lyric already built up from 3, I guess 2.5 big frontliners.
I mean, right, if they can find the setup for the team fight that they're clearly looking for, I mean, they could just delete people like Elk instantly when a fight starts. We've seen Zika on the set a few times. I think he's had pretty good performances on it in terms of how he's played out with the champion, like really good at finding those splash face breakers and ultimates and like coming off on like cool angles to set up the fight. We have seen him caught out of position a few times, but it doesn't feel like that's a champion-specific type of problem, right? That can happen on anyone. So
sure,
interesting to see how BLG go. Also seeming like they want the Volibear into the Lee Sin matchup. I mean, Volibear is so strong in early laning phases. If you can hit your Sky Splitter, it feels like you can win almost any trade. And then extended trades with your W, you do win out quite heavily. Shanks, though, going to go back towards the Sylas. So we already have the setup coming out from WE. Letting junglers through, maybe signaling that they're fine with Beishang if he has to go onto the Lee Sin pick himself. We've highlighted that early on in the split, it wasn't that successful, but it definitely feels like it has gained some ground as the split has gone on. And, you know, certain junglers who do prefer pressuring the map early, like Karsa, have kind of gravitated towards champions that aren't necessarily the norm.
And I will say
Beishang has not played this champion yet.
I will say that something like Olaf, right, or hovered before, Beishang's always looked at this pick with a bit of priority. So if he has to shift around gears and look for that instead, always a possibility. But I like that you hover around the junglers being banned away. For BLG, might just be a jungle ban in the end with the Xin Zhao already taken. A couple seconds to find out there. I just want to lock that down so we can start looking at... All right, so support gone. Remember, you mentioned counter pick towards one of these soul lanes, if that's going to be the case, and if that Lee Sin will go towards jungle in the end. But we'll find out, because support was banned away. WWE might want to lock in a priority now.
Yeah, we still have the Nautilus open. That has been like the next go-to, right, when Leon is taken away.
Thresh?
Instead, Missing going to bring out the Thresh. And, I mean, it's kind of weird to say this because we said about PP God earlier, but this was Missing's best champion in 2020 as well. We had a lot of prominent Thresh players, and I think these two, along with Shousey, are the three that come to my mind the most in terms of the impact they were able to find in 2020. It does signal that they want to keep that potential flex of the Lee Sin pick open, though they do know they're going up against the Volibear, right? So BLG was already showing their cards. Maybe you could have tried to save your support to, like, get a more favorable matchup, and we're going to get aiming coming out with the Jhin. So BLG's comp is all early game power in my mind.
Yeah.
They have a ton of good things in terms of like early game skirmishing and 5v5s. Jhin just opening up the curtain, calling your other members diving in while Jin's like at a safe angle from afar. I would expect them to lock in the Nautilus rather than the Karma. I think it fits their overall composition a lot more than something like the Karma, and especially if their comp fell behind at any point in time, the Karma would just be pretty much useless because you aren't enabling anyone on that team, right? The big carry of your composition is Wei, and now we're going to get to see where WE do want to go. It does look like they kept the Lee Sin pick for jungle with, you know, Xin Zhao and the other bans and picks coming through. It does make a lot of sense. Now, do they lock in the Viego? I kind of expect yes. This has been something where Breathe has thrived on this split, and they're going to go with it. So once again, WE have a lot of pick potential. They do have pressure coming out through sides later on. They have Elk on something he's comfortable. And I feel like pick is just the name of the game for WE, to where we know for BLG, they want to be scrappy, they want to be brawly, they want to be grouped together, they want to make the map closed and bring you into them or find ways to get onto you. So for BLG, we want to see if they can find the early lead before champions like Silas and Viego can find their route into the game, and especially Shanks, right? You have a lot of really good ultimates on the side of BLG to take away. You have so many engage tools and lockdowns to get and find access to picks or access to these fights onto key carries.
Because my biggest curiosity with the BLG comp is that you talk about early game, Lyric, and I think the biggest thing for me is that this comp will run out of damage, right? Is that correct in saying with what we're looking at here? We have Jin, Set, Volley, Diana. The later this game goes, is that a concern? Is that something that makes the scaling so cut and dry and why we look particularly at the early game? Or is it all about the potential and where they fight?
I definitely think the damage profile is a big part of it, right? Because your big damage dealer in the late game is going to be Diana, and Diana is a very rotation-based champion, right? And very ultimate-based champion, I should say, more so than anything. You're gonna go in, you're gonna get your one big burst off, and that's about it. That's about like where it stops with being able to take out key carries. And then later on, we know champions like Silas should be able to survive that one rotation of damage, to where if Shanks plays well, maybe he pops his Zanyas, he comes back out, his E's up, his W's up, he can go back in and finish off what should have been, maybe a close fight. But surprisingly enough, we actually had Beishang on the Viego and Breathe the one manning the Lee Sin. So this will be Beishang's first time bringing out the Viego jungle. We have seen it a few times so far. I think we've seen it about 10 times, and it's been about mixed success. We've seen it go like 5 and 5 or something along those lines. So yeah, going to be interesting to see how Beishang can do with this pick, especially with the fact that I feel like BLG do have such good lanes kind of coming out of the gate in the early laning phases. Set's gonna have a fine time against Shanks. Shanks should be able to farm fine as well, but we know, Haymaker the wave, you're gonna be fine just clearing Azika. Bu we hit on, especially with this passive, is gonna have a good time just pushing that in, and then you are just going to set up for this level 6 power spike, where BLG are really gonna come in strong and look for these fights.
I think the big thing for me is I'm seeing Breathe on Lee Sin, and whether the matchup's favorable or not, Breathe's Lee Sin has been the best in the top lane, and one that I've been waiting to see again. So look for the playmaking potential here on the Bruiser, and welcome yourself into Summoner's Rift, by the way. This is going to be a game where we look for BLG's early game. And Lyric, we already talked about it in the series. This particular series has been about the early game strength, and while it wasn't cut and dry, game number 2, WE got themselves ahead with comp that wanted to rotate through these solo lanes. This time around, we look towards BLG's scrappiness, their skirmishing, and seeing how they can play through these lanes to net themselves a bit of an early gold advantage. Missing going to get locked down here with a couple of shots from aiming, and the 4th shot getting sparked up as well. So already a good start here for aiming and PB Gold.
And, a big thing to highlight as well is the fact that in both game 1 and game 2, we had a 4K gold lead by 10 minutes for the side that was winning, right?
Yep.
So like you said, it was all about the early pressure. It was all about really, by that Rift Herald point of trying to find some dives on side lanes, trying to find aggressive invades in the enemy jungle around the lanes that you have prio. And we are seeing now a bit of what we'd expect, right? So you get able to get early control of that mid wave. BLG's bottom lane doing quite well. We do see on the top side, though, Bu is getting pushed in, but I think this matchup for both sides should be a bit null and void. I don't think there's much kill pressure coming out from either Breathe or Bu, but Zika
flashes away because of the wards that spots out Wei on the red buff Lyric. The Lunar Rush was absolutely affirmed by WE, so Beishang uses the timing and gets a summoner out of the mid lane.
Still, though, Shanks is quite low as well and doesn't have any mana. Does still have Biscuits, though, so does have a bit of a resource advantage as well as having another pot, so I think Shanks is actually fine. We are going to see now that Beishang should be able to potentially just get this bot side Scuttle Crab. You even look at the way that Elk and Missing are positioned, and they're trying to hover around towards Riverside and make sure PB got it aiming can't walk through. But nice adaptation by Wei to try to hover around to give his laners that safety and confidence to look for the trade. But in the end, Beishang was still just too fast.
And at the end, we're not looking at a double scuttle. It's Bu who's actually going to get the top side just in case as well. So Beishang goes back to his own jungle. Bu going to take this while the wave actually meeting dead in the middle. And it's going to put him into a nice little advantage as well. Just remember that the full wave there to catch, so there will be a CS lead, while Zika and Shanks having it out. Shanks dodges away from the Haymaker, true damage, but is out of mana. No Biscuit in inventory this time, and Zika has the passive healing that comes through from the true grit. So should be fine in this lane as we continue forward. No shenanigans yet, nothing happening yet. But again, we can talk about the level 6 and what that means, as Weiwei's just hovering just in case. As Knight comes down, this is a gank in the bottom lane. Patient flashes forward, aiming in trouble, flashes away, and almost the death sentence from missing to catch him out.
Yeah, it seems like Beishang just hovered around the bottom side, potentially looking for an opportunity if he didn't have a way to recall. This time, though, Weiwei is answering by taking away some of Beishang's camp, so at least there is a response. I don't expect them to be able to look for a dive on top side, and I like that Breathe is conscious of this and checking, knowing, hey, we made a plan bot, Weiwei should be here.
If he goes for it, needs to wait until Beishang is there. It is a better trade, but again, Lee Sin, thanks to the W, the safeguard, and the activation, you'll be able to get a bit of lifesteal back here, even with the Doran's Blades. So Breathe will catch the wave in the end as well. Beishang makes himself known. That's
they do want to go for it.
They are going to go for it. Weiwei and Bubu, Sky Splitter coming down. Breathe still under the turret. Trying to get the stun is Beishang. He's getting away from the turret, but it's double flash time. And BLG with first blood. Haymaker comes on in as Zika takes a turret shot too many. And now Shanks wants to reverse. Missing's coming up as well. And everything's starting here for WE. They're going to get the advantage as Bubu's left alone. The death sentence as well. And BLG may have the early comp lyric, but WE are throwing hands.
And you're just surprised that they'd want to go for that when they gave so much time for WE to respond, right? They'd already been showing on top side for quite a long time with Weiwei stealing away those Krugs. Missing was able to get a recall off in that time, start heading up there, and we're just going to straight into the replay. Like, even coming to this point, right? Missing is already recalled. He's already on his way. We see Silas wants to get his back off before he channels his TP, maybe missing out on some mana. And then Beishang able to buy some time, and the members of BLG still kind of posturing as if they feel like they can take this, maybe not accounting for Missing coming in, but it looks like even without Missing here, they probably could have been able to just clean up this whole fight.
I just love from Breathe the flash safeguard, knowing that he'd buy enough time where BLG have to fully commit if they want the kill. And fully commit they do. WE punish them down. 2 kills now on Shanks, who's ready to get another MVP in this third game by the looks of it. And Lyric, WE had themselves a 400-500 gold lead, but they had themselves an early snowball, which for someone like Beishang on this Viego is going to be nothing but good news.
Yeah, and I feel like even better is the fact that Shanks is the one who picked up the kills, because we were talking about, you know, later on in fights, that the Silas is really going to be the one to benefit off of the fact that BLG's comp is so burst reliant and the fact that he can get off so many rotations of spells. Still, though, BLG going to pivot towards the bottom lane first, going to play off the recall of Elk coming out and the fact that they control that quadrant set, still having push in the mid lane because he was able to get back to mid first because Shanks had to make his way down from top, and they are going to pick up the first dragon of the game. But still, we're very close to the point of Weiwei having his level 6 already coming out for both solo laners. And that's where we really expect to see BLG's composition come online. We already see Bubu using his window and topside as well to get some vision down right in front of red buff.
Beishang making his way behind mid for the time being as well. Red buff will have a ward in front of it too, so information going to be gathered by BLG as Beishang walks over. Breathe walking down as well just in case. And I think we also have to look at the fact that Herald's going to be up in 30 seconds, Lyric, and what's going to happen because of it, because, you know, game 1, game 2, we've seen the supports move over, we've seen the 80 carries move over as well. I'm just wondering, with BLG's comp getting 6 now, especially Weiwei, how much they're going to benefit off the fact of getting this Herald and being able to control WE if they walk in.
I mean, you can see, right? They've already sent their bot lane up. Amy's already pushing out on top side. PB God's already been up here for a while, so they're going to deny some CS in the bottom lane. WE's bottom lane is. And the thing is, Herald's still not up yet. It's still not up for another 4 seconds. So you actually gave time for WE to not only deny minions, not lose anything, but their bottom lane still be able to rotate over to fight for this Herald. So a bit preemptive coming from the side of BLG.
They move in, and you can see PP Gold over the wall. He doesn't have depth charge. Another big ultimate tool that would be quite big. Aiming as well without the curtain call, but Elk has his Chains of Corruption. Here comes the teleport in the back line and locked down by Elk's ulti. Zika will absorb a lot of it. That's the tool down as Bubu now with the Stormbringer ready to jump on in. BLG's Wombo at the ready. We talked about their ultis. How's it going to work out? 2K here for the Herald. Stolen away. That's what Beishang wants as well. Stolen Stormbringer as well. WE right in the middle of the pit. Low HP bars for BLG though. And Shanks running forward. Elk as well. This is not good for Bilibili Gaming as Heartbreaker, Heartbringer, Heart Attack for BLG. Lyric, the early game, it's all gone down the toilet.
And it was so tragic for the side of BLG. I was focusing my attention on Weiwei that whole time to see if he can find some kind of really nice ultimate. And I think he got it off onto Shanks, plus maybe it was either Breathe or missing, so not even doing too much. Shanks' health didn't actually go down at all. And then WE finding a nice job of getting that re-engage off. Beishang playing really well in the Viego, and I'm happy we're gonna get straight into the replay off that one. WE are the ones who go all in. Shanks using the Volibear ultimate, trying to get right on top of Weiwei, so Shanks realizing who the priority target is. Beishang on the backside already helping to pick up one kill, and then for WE, they can just keep chasing this down with the resets from Viego.
You know what the funny thing is when BLG's ultimates, you mentioned how they are in chokes, small spaces, what they can do. When WE, like Shanks steals away some of those ultimates, the box there as well, Chains of Corruption, the Heartbreaker too. WE have a similar effect, especially with the lead, and now they're diving with it. Burst damage, way too much to handle. PP God next, and Lyric. This is GG at 15 if I've ever seen one.
I mean, once again, we are at the 10-minute mark. With these plates going down, we are going to be at about the same 4K gold lead we've seen throughout the series so far. BLG pulling the whole, win game one in dominant fashion to give fans false hope. Game two, WE flopped it, and then they came back, so there's always potential for BLG, but with their composition, I'm not feeling all too strong. With where these kills went as well, like, this is everything you could have hoped for WE. The Viego and the Silas, the two members who are just going to get incredibly strong the longer the game progresses, already getting to those earlier power spikes as well. Now they feel great about looking for skirmishes, they feel great about looking for picks. They're going to be happy once we start getting to a place where Silas will be in the side lane. Like, everything right now is moving towards WE.
BB's in a lot of trouble. If Breathe wants to commit the flash kick,
unfortunately, his ult and flash hysterics.
Well,
ult and flash on Biubiu. He's chilling.
It's a Lee Sin with a Viego who's 0 and 5 nearby. Beishang, 9 out of 10 kill participation as well. Another big fact here. And it's not often that we see a Viego this active this early on, but we're definitely going to be seeing more as Beishang as he sets up for a dive. Okay, here we go.
Weiwei's waiting in the wings, though.
Kick against the wall, and yep, he's just dead immediately.
Doesn't matter.
Breeze taken up, Volibear stolen away, the Heartbreaker once again. Weiwei's here, but Beishang gets another reset. You can't stop turret aggro, as Zika knows, takes him with him. Breathe as well. Zika's just trying to win the game. His team's a bit heavy this time around. He should get this with a face breaker. Breathe, so close, but so far. 4-2-0. He has all the kills of BLG. It's a heavy shoulders game for Zika.
I mean, Set does have massive shoulders, right? So at least there's that for the side of BLG, but 2 for 2 in the end. I mean, definitely not going the way WE thought. At first, it looked like, hey, it didn't matter that anyone was waiting in the wings. WE just have too much burst, but they did utilize those initial ultimates, right, to find the first kill onto Biubiu, so we are going to get to see how that one goes. Ultimate from Lee Sin comes out, as well as Viego following up. Instantly followed up by Weiwei going in, as well as the TP from Zika coming out. Really nice showstopper from him, and, Breathe could have lived. Breathe didn't need to follow that Sonic Wave in.
Yep.
Maybe thinking, hey, they had enough burst. Maybe not expecting for Beishang to get instantly just one-shot by the combination of turret aggro and Zika's whole kit. But, yeah, he decided to go down with his brother. That's something no one can disrespect.
If you hit the Sonic Wave, you gotta go in. That's what Lee Syndrome's all about. That's what the champion's all about. You just gotta take it anyway. And at this point, if you're WE, why not?
I remember when Ivern first came out, and you see people do that with Ivern's Q, and it's like, no, please, it's not the same.
True.
But I'm not going to talk about Ivern. Not yet, though. It does seem like we'll get some Ivern buffs pretty soon.
I hope so.
Who knows? That would be pretty interesting, dude. 2017 Ivern Rengar meta. That was super cool, but what else is super cool is Zika utilizing this advantage to the fullest.
He's huge.
Getting some prio up in mid, but WE gonna respond by getting a dragon. Oh wait, he's going for the dive.
Yeah, and there's a flash away from Shank. That's nice. I mean, the curtain call from aiming to set up for Zika. BLG with such a horrid early game. Even though they're going to lose first turret down in the bottom lane, and that means gold goes back to about 5,000, they're still making plays on the map, and it's around their most strong member in Zika. So aiming moves, PP God moves as well. There's no Herald to be taken, but at least they're getting something back.
Yes, and that's exactly what we wanted to see, right? Like, they know they can't win on bot side. They know that that tower's going to go down regardless, as nothing is going to happen, as Zika just posturing menacingly, but seeing BLG actually answer somewhere else on the map, and that was a play we used to see a lot back in the day with Jhin that I don't feel like we see much, like even when he's in meta, like last year or so on, that, you know, typically used to be move to mid, open up the ultimate, get the slow down, try and have that kill pressure from either your mid and your jungle or your mid support to guarantee that kill. So really nice to see come out from BLG. They were able to get Shanks' flash out of that, and it looks like the next Rift Herald is going to be coming up quite soon. WE are the team that's ahead. They're the team that's able to dictate who gets vision or not. They're going to be able to get push in both mid and top. UB will have TP, though. No, some ultimates still down
again,
for
Prowler's
aiming.
Claw. Nice cleanse coming through from aiming. It was immediate. Dark Classic saves the day, but in front, PP God, or rather missing, must go. It was the engage from the BLG support as teleport has been channeled in. And the poke from Elk cannot be misunderstood here by BLG. That's the TP in, Lyric. Herald's up, and with top priority, it just feels like WE are going to take this handedly.
Yeah, so WE will get the Rift Herald. BLG going to answer by taking away some jungle camps on the opposite side. BB going to get some damage down onto the bottom lane turret. So for once, we're seeing the teams like understand these trades and not looking to just kind of stare at each other intimidatingly in front of the objective, and then the team that is 4K gold down lose the fight. So you would expect maybe both teams to be able to pick up side lane turrets, but WE should also be able to get this mid lane turret. Breathe already looking for the angle.
Engage onto missing. There's the face breaker back on him with the showstopper. Missing flashes away. He gets out even with the depth charge ignite. Way on the back line. Manages to snipe him down, but that's a one-man ulti onto Elk. They want to burst him, and they've done it. BLG have already taken down 3 Lyric. Shanks wasn't there. 4. Count the 5th if Shanks sticks around. Somehow BLG managed to pick them apart.
Yeah, BLG were able to get there first, especially Weiwei showing up. They were able to take out Missing quite early with Zika's ultimate. And now we're at a point where, you know, the gold gap is closing. We see how these ultimates can work in tandem to create situations where picks can come through. BLG should be able to pick up the mid lane turret off this, so the gold gap going to close even further.
Well, game not over. I said FF at 15. I'll take it back because the game 2 and game 3, nothing is as it seems. As set up by Zika and PP God. I mean, this set, absolutely huge torso.
Yeah, and then we're going to see Breathe going in on one side to try and get the kick, but Aiming actually just able to get out of there with Weiwei and Zika surrounding him on opposite ends. And like you said, Shanks wasn't here this whole time, so he's one of the members that is so fed, so big, and I feel like a lot of the either engage or re-engage actually comes from Shanks taking away ultimates like Bubu's.
Now we're running it through mid. 5 members of WE forget side lanes. Look at this. They're going to go for another. In a turret here with Rift Herald and Chains of Corruption land. They've got the volley bear. Death sentence and he's down. Forget the comeback as WE still have so much range to play with. And they're going to get Herald to get another charge through mid lane. Ooh, that's
going down right at the last second. So not going to be able to get that one. If they'd gotten that, I wonder if, you know, they would have maybe even looked for like more dives, looking to keep going, right? Because Beishang had picked up that first possession.
I'd go back in.
Okay.
Why not?
Shanks does have flash.
Yeah, ultimate used by Weiwei, and never mind, gonna go golden here. Teleport was used by Zika. Give him the kill, he definitely deserves it, but he needs to dunk him down first, and there you go. 700 gold for this huge, jacked mid laner, who's now 6-2.
Yeah, and, you know, Shanks, despite having flash, really having nowhere to go with 3 members just completely surrounding him. Breathe, trying to get some gold back on the opposite side of the map. Dragon up in about 50 seconds, so I want to see if WE are going to be the ones to get vision down there, because we can see right now that BLG wanted to get some gold back into their pockets, instead prioritizing getting down this top lane turret.
Lyric, just quickly in the game state before we come through. Breathe going to go in for a bit of a sonic wave. You said BLG's damage profile, you know, definitely feels like it falls off here in this game. I want to point out that BLG, instead of lying down and trying to play it passive, they've been going and continuously making what I'd call like an IG play. Make it over and over again and try until you find the right angle. BLG at this point, they've moved themselves back into contestable territory. 2k gold lead for WE is nothing when the game started at 6,000 almost and felt like it was over before it began. So I want to highlight that BLG have done a good job of making this game competitive. And even though Dragon's going to go over to WE, we still look towards this next fight with bated breath because second, almost third item here coming through from Zika, or, you know, he's on the path to. There is a lot of opportunity for BLG to find a fight, more so than we ever thought.
Oh, I agree. I mean, the fact that Zika's ahead, you know, meaning he has more damage in this game still, like compared to maybe what he should have had. He's actually up a full item, it looked like, on top of Shanks, who only has the Seeker's Arm Guard right now. So actually should be pretty close to the Zanyas. Maybe would even be able to back and get that one right now. But the combo of Zika Weiwei is going to be the big thing in these fights. They actually have almost every kill for the side of BLG. PB God also having one, so something that's pretty negligible.
Yep.
And once again, it's going to be all about that setup, all about that combo. Sure, they might have picked up that last kill on Shanks, but that took dedicating 3 men towards topside, bringing in a TP on the flank to answer. And now we're going to be looking towards the next neutral objective. Baron comes up in 40 seconds. That's a place where BLG would love to try to find a fight where they can get a 5-man engaged, but we can see WE haven't been looking for that, right? WE have been looking for picks. It's been about the death sentences coming out from missing to set up a lot of these plays, or if someone like Breathe or Beishong hovering over to wrap it on a flank and pick up a kill.
Close call there. Dark Passage saves the day thanks to missing. PP God in these hooks actually not going too bad. I want to point out that PP God's had a pretty good series. You know, we were saying that he was the worst performing member on BLG. A much better series when we've seen the setups, when we've seen the engages. Not on something like the Lulu where he's acting like a frontline. On the picks that we've seen so far, PP God has been part of the success, and alongside Zika this game has really been giving momentum to BLG.
I just call that LPL syndrome of like so many supports playing Karma like Nautilus.
Nautilus
goes in.
Set up though. Shanks has bought time with Chains of Corruption in a choke. WE not in a bad position. Zika's frontlining here, and that poke damage from Elk, but into the back line. Look at Bubu and Weiwei. Together they stand as Zika's going to try and bring it back, and bring back they shall. But in the meantime, WE have cleaned them apart. Bubu onto missing. He's trying his hardest. Elk wants to bully off him while aiming still survives. Elk versus 2. He flashes over the wall to survive for only just a bit longer. Beishong, meanwhile, has had his resets, and he's pretty angry. So it is a 3 for 3 in the end. But hey, we love our Fiestas.
Yeah, and you opened up the chance for, you know, members of W to go down in the end there, because we saw Beishong running to try to chase away Zika, hoping he could pick up a kill there, and he did. But at the same time, right, it opened up for BLG to find a kill on the opposite side, to where maybe Beishong stuck with the other 2 members. They could have found a kill fighting down towards that bottom side. Is Beishong just going to threaten this one, but doesn't look like he will overstay. And now we're going to get back to setting up the map. And we saw at the start of that fight, it was pretty good for W, right? They were able to keep BLG at arm's length. They were able to get down the Varus poke, as we are going to go straight into the replay. Sure, PB God's hook comes out, but Shanks instantly goes into the Zanyas, is pulled back by the Lanterns. Like, look at that damage PB God took right there, but oh my god, just massive play coming in from Weiwei to set it up. Bubu follows it in, and that's why this fight was able to be a lot more competitive than it initially looked. Bubu still on the backside, and Beishong's the one finishing this up. Beishong wants to chase that one out there because he thinks, hey, you know, my AD and support are fine, but instantly, aiming actually flashed over the wall to pick up that kill on Thresh, so a lot of individual, I'd say, confidence plays coming on both sides. Very decisive play from aiming, which isn't something that we don't know aiming for, right? We think of that Ezreal play the other day where he had. So something we know that aiming is able to do, and able to pick up his LDR right now to deal with some of the armor that is being picked up on the opposite side.
2 items on the Jhin. We know that this game was for BLG very much about getting that item progression early. There's a little bit of a curtain call coming through from aiming. Look at where WE are, though. Beishong moving between the mist, trying to get himself a pick. And it's just WE right now who are threatening this topside objective. Dragon's up in a minute, but for WE, if they can sneak something like the Baron, it puts them in a very good place. It's PP God setting up for the engage. He won't get the dredge line. He has to walk away.
Let's remember the big thing about BLG's comp and straight up 5v5 as well, right, is that they have a better front line. Oh, and BB's wrapping around the corner.
Can he get himself with the Stormbringer? Just takes himself out with the Blast Cone. Breathe is teleported in. But look at the HP bar onto aiming. He'll be bursted down by any of the members of WE. And this might be a problem, contesting the next dragon when 25 seconds until it spawns.
Sterix, this isn't the time for this point, but we have 28 kills at 23 minutes, and that is absolutely lovely. Yep, we are going to see WE right now are the ones who control vision, but the question is if BLG can get on their backline. You know, the ultimate is up for Biubiu, Weiwei, and Zika, so the tools are there. You have Shanks now with the Nautilus ultimate. He went down extremely early last time around. I'd love to see Shanks be able to find some pressure onto someone like aiming, but I feel like the big thing is, right, a lot of the CC tools coming out from WE, they have to be used on Weiwei, because even his Moonfall last time around was what set up the play, it set up the team fight that BLG were able to win. But with the extended posturing, it seems like BLG realized, hey, we're not able to find a way around to the back line. We saw BB try to do it at first. He was dissuaded off to go from there. And Shanks wants to go in.
Look at this huge rotation, all the way from Dragon up towards the top side, straight into the enemy jungle. And now spotting out Zika, Shanks will push this top wave, and look at the vision towards Baron as well. It's completely blind at the moment, I believe, apart from that scrying ward that was just put down. So the threat's definitely there, but WE are going to make the reset anyway. And Lyric, I want to come back just to one thing before we see the next objective fight, before we see the next play. You were talking about Weiwei and the threat that he has. We saw that Zika wasn't on top of the play either. And that's the other added threat that you also mentioned with the choke fights, the fights in small spaces with this comp that relies heavily on the ultimates. If everyone piles in, then it's going to be over in an instant, because W won't be able to survive with how much damage Zika's doing, how much survivability he has to stay in the middle of that pit as well. So there's always that threat.
Even how much is Haymaker's doing right now, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of threat, right? And it feels like lined up, that damage will strike through to everyone in WE.
Yeah, and WE right now doing a good job of just trying to control vision, push out their waves. BLG answering on the opposite side. And like I said, I feel like a big thing going into this next fight is if they're able to just shut down Weiwei early. That's why I really like that Shanks in that last fight had preemptively picked up PB God's ultimate. If you can get that depth charge onto Weiwei, maybe burst him out before, or even just dissuade him from going in and finding a pick onto someone like aiming or Biubiu before a fight can start, it feels like that could be a good way of success for WE in these team fights.
I want to look at items just before we get to some of those fights again. Serpent's Fang here for Elk has a lot of value in this game. 4 out of 5 of the members have shielding, and unless I'm missing something with aiming here, unless he has overheal or whatever the rune's called, I think it's important to note that that itemization from Elk is going to pay its dividends with the shielding it's going to reduce on those 4 members.
Definitely will, and you know, we're seeing key members get ahead on both sides. For the side of WE, it's Beishang.
Yep.
Almost at his 3rd item already, compared to, for BLG, it is Zika, right? Zika right now sitting on the Tiamat, sitting on the Giant Spell, as well as he's had the Executioners calling all game long, or he probably would already be able to be on that 3rd item. So they're the 2 strong forces. Right now, we're just having both teams finally decide to chill out. They're like, hey, we've already gotten past 1 kill a minute. We don't need to get any further than this. Let's just, you know, have like a gentleman's agreement. We're gonna wait out the 2 minutes, 26 seconds, then we can fight again.
I like gentleman's agreement, especially with the 28 kill game. We are catching up in time to match it kill for a minute. I love that the average has taken about 5-6 minutes to get to that point as well. Definitely feels like the region is delivering again, excuse me. Wards in the mid lane. Important to note the vision control here is something we've talked about all series long if you're just tuning in, and something that WE have definitely been controlling well. Around the Baron buff right now, a couple of control wards there.
Oh,
that
Shanks TP
is threatening, and Shanks TP, Lyric, you called it. A nice pickup here considering that the teleport doesn't add too much, except for the mid lane pressure, as WE are grouping up as 5 and just running it straight direct down.
Yeah, it actually didn't add anything. They were not able to find any sort of pick with it. Just gonna back off. Shanks now no TP. I can see what they were going for, right? They saw, I think it was Weiwei who was in the jungle, and they're like, hey, let's pick this one off. But now Zika's TP's coming in.
Let's see, it's up to PP God, the depth charge there. Zika's TP, you mentioned. He's got a great flanking angle as he flashes in right to a hook. Rather not flashing, just getting the face breaker. He flashes back the haymaker. BLG have got the damage down, but now WE rely on Elk, rely on Beishang, who still live. It was a great start to the fight, but WE's leftover members are still massive. Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, and Biubiu flashes the hell out of that one. Heartbreaker already used, and WE, they lose 2 members. BLG only 1.
I mean, that was the perfect representation of how these fights go, right? BLG go in, they have this one amazing, beautiful combo that puts a bunch of damage down, but if you don't finish off the members, you know that WE feel better in the extended skirmish. They know that they can win out, and yeah, BLG having to run away. They did pick up the 2 kills, but we're gonna see it here. Zika gonna try and find the angle. Elk instantly flashes away though. Box comes out into Hook and Flay, but still, we're gonna see Haymaker into the Moonfall coming out. Oh, really nice flashing it as well to make sure it hits as many members as possible. And though the members of WE survive though, right? Elk's alive, Beishang's alive, even gets a reset for his ultimate. So this is where BLG are like, hey, we're out of here. We've already used all of our key abilities. We can't take this fight any longer. We come out of a replay and already a bit of a tussle going on.
And we have to mention that those ultimates, those key ultimates that bring the play into fruition, don't have too long of time, as Curtain Call's going to be coming up. Zika's ulti as well. Chains of Corruption into the choke. He's in the backline again. Zika kicked back though, but the Haymaker! He's done it once again! Moonfall to the backline, aiming, getting targeted by Shanks, but look at the rest of the fight for BLG. WE getting their resets and the fight's going longer. Suddenly it turns on a dime and WE get the space they need. Elk Prowler's claws right on top of the dead Sub-Zero and WE take them all down.
And it looks like, so WE look confused, right? Because they started to ping towards bottom lane turret like, hey, let's just crack open this turret. We have a wave we can end. But at the last second, it seemed like they calmed down. They realized, oh, actually, there's only 20 seconds left up on their team. Let's take Soul. Let's make our way towards Baron. They're going to make the smart map plays. And hopefully this should be enough to put the nail in the coffin to where they're able to take these fights incredibly decisively for their side.
God, the Infernal Soul just going to make it that much harder. And Lyric, I don't know why, but Volibear's still standing up behind the Dragon Pit. I don't know if you saw that, but Bubu's character model is still standing. So take that as you will as WE start the Baron. This one's gone before anyone from BLG leave their base. And WE now with a huge gold lead. They have the Soul we mentioned. Let's look at this again because I thought Zika set this up for success, but the fight goes on long and WE turn it.
Yeah, right here especially where they all go in. You get a huge burst of damage down, but Beishang and Shanks actually both jump out of it right as it's happening. Beishang ults away, Shanks goes with the Abscond Abduct as well as his ultimate as well, so really a lot of the key carries able to dodge out on the damage. That's when the re-engage comes as well. We saw especially for Shanks, he got right on top of aiming. He's able to take him out immediately. Zika was taken low even before his engage came out, so a lot of good damage coming out for WE, and they really outplayed that situation very nicely. The combo wasn't able to be executed as well as it could have, and now we're in a position where WE have some decent siege coming out with Elk, but you really want to see them play out through multiple lanes like they're doing now, with Shanks trying to pull members apart elsewhere.
I'm so glad in that last play you talked about Beishang. We might not get a chance to talk about him further as WE want to put that nail in. Way poked down as well, aiming the same. Beishang in these fights has been huge. He's got 20 out of 23 kill participation as a Viego jungle. So he's been so active on the map, and the Beishang that we love to talk about in the past. WE trying to get another series win here in the LPL. It's been a really rocky road to kick things off, but with Shanks, they've looked better in this Game 2 and Game 3. Especially Game 3, let's be honest, Game 2 was a fiasco. But they've now taken down 2 turrets, 1 in front of the top and mid inhibitor. And gold continues to span out towards 7,000 in the lead.
Yeah, now pings are starting to come out towards the bottom side of the map for WE. You can do what you were doing before, right? Keep a member mid, push in that wave, put some threat on one of those inhibitors, and you also give them a good angle to threaten, like, wrapping around from the turret and, like, not necessarily doing a dive, but threatening for one. And the rest of BLG's, WE's members, go towards bot lane, start channeling out that siege, as we actually see Shanks TP'd mid.
Yeah,
actually TP'd in the enemy jungle, but just TP'ing right back to mid lane.
Nothing's up, so I guess he just wants to get the push as quickly as possible and sync up bot.
Yeah, it just seems like, yep, you're right, just trying to get tempo on the map and push out that mid wave, get control of the enemy jungle even faster. I thought potentially he was going to look for a pick maybe onto Beauty, but I'm like, I don't know if that sounds like a good 1v1 to be looking for at this point in time. And W just going to do exactly what we talked about, right? 4 members strong on bottom side, technically 3 with Breathe posturing in between mid and bot side jungle, and then Shanks is going to be that man playing in the mid lane, pushing in that wave, and then posturing from the side.
Well, here we go. 4 members with the Baron buff then. Watch for Shanks. Lyric was just talking about him in the side, and that inhibitor just going to be crushed down. Shanks takes it free of charge. BB can't stop it, and he'll just work his magic on top lane inhib now. It's curtain call. This is what BLG want to do, make their decision. They get a backline depth charge, but Breathe is still alive. He returns. He cripples them as well. Weiwei's ulti only onto 1 member, and look at Beisheng. So healthy. He's stolen away the set. Reset after reset after reset. Viego is not a balanced champion as WE showcase it in full.
And WE finally gonna break that loss streak. Shanks coming back into the roster. They definitely look a lot more holistic, a much better looking WE.
Right onto the Nexus turrets. WE in Game 3. It may have started a little bit rocky here, Lyric, but in Game 3, they smacked down BLG and put themselves back on that train towards the top.
Really good to see. I love that you were trying to highlight Beisheng so much in their last game. Bringing out the Viego, a champion we don't see all that often in the jungle, playing it extremely well, being involved in almost everything that WE were doing. They were able to get off to the early advantage, and we talked about it. Whichever team had the early lead seemed like they were destined for victory, the other team not really knowing how to respond. BLG did adapt better this game, right? We saw more like trades on the opposite side of the map, but even that just started coming out once they were already so far behind in terms of gold. We saw Zika and Weiwei doing their best to set up the big plays. They actually found a lot of moments where they were able to pull it off. They almost were able to bring it back, but in the end, WE able to pull through.